You need to educate yourself. You need to be a good trainer before you start charging people money.
Yeah. The fitness analogy of that is like when you see these people online who are like super jacked and shredded, ton of photo editing that's happening there.
I always say like consistency is better than failure. But
I would start a program about how to lose 7 pounds in 7 days, and that probably would not have happened. So you don't need a ton of clients. You need to build them up slowly.
I would just say most people, they don't want to necessarily completely sacrifice what they are used to, right? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, people from different planets and species and everything else in between, we are gathered here today on a prestigious sometime in September of 2024 on, I don't know what episode of the podcast, of the Start Yesterday podcast. I am here with Daniel Yoris. I said it right?
Yep.
Okay, nailed it. I'm so bad at pronunciation. We're here to talk all things about health, fitness, and some things in between. So I guess... Well, people know my sob story. So I pretty much ask everybody when I start the podcast, like, do you have a sob story?
I mean, I don't think so. Like, when you start talking to a lot of people go through some crazy stuff in their life.
Yeah.
And so when you say, like, do I have a sob story? Like, sure, I've been through quote unquote hard things, but like comparatively, like, no, it's not a sob story. But I got a story about fitness and things that I can talk about if you want to go there.
Yeah, I mean, like, everybody, okay, I find most people when they're like a trainer or coach or X, Y, and Z, like, they don't just randomly get into it. It's normally something that inspired them. I mean, there is the anomaly dude who wakes up with a six-pack and he's like, okay, it's time to train more people. But most people, there's a reason. So I guess maybe what, like, started, like, your journey.
Yeah, so not random for me either.
Yeah.
I played sports growing up as a kid. Soccer was like my main thing. I was like pretty good, but not like that good. If I didn't get injured as much as I did, I just described the level. Like I probably could have played in university, and that would have been it. Like so, not to brag or not to, and it's not. I don't think that's bragging at all. Like, but whatever. Just to describe, it wasn't like house league and just kind of on the side. I trained and played seriously. When I was 11, I think, I had my first knee injury, and I didn't know it at the time, but basically what happened was like my kneecap popped out of place, popped back in place. It's called a patellar subluxation. Yeah, phenomenal. Then that proceeded to happen every few months or so for like the next 10 years. And so that kind of ruined my career, if you will, because like, you're good at one point and then you get injured, take a few months off.
You need a kneecap to play soccer.
Exactly. And to do like most things in life.
Yeah.
So you get further behind and obviously there's a lot of pain. Anyways, through that, in and out of physio clinics and various things to try and like fix my body. With that, I learned a lot about anatomy, how the body works, and got really interested in like, how do we make this thing stop breaking, right? And so then I wanted to go into therapy and whatever post. So I did kinesiology in university. Nice. And then I was like, okay, I'll be a chiropractor. That was a thing that I wanted to do. Story for another day that we probably don't need to get into. Chiro school was not for me after a year, but still interested in all the health and fitness and all of the stuff. And then became a trainer after that. So my thing was like, hey, I've been injured. I have a pretty good understanding of what it's like for your body to not work the way that you want it to work, and how much this affects my life. And the recovery from a surgery that I had eventually for my knees, or for my knee, I basically wasn't able to walk for like 3 months. And so that was when I was 20, and I'm 30 now. So I learned a lot about like what it's like to have your ability to move taken away from you at a pretty young age. And so that was a hard lesson to learn, but in hindsight, a great lesson to learn. And so I carry that with me through everything that I do now.
Yeah, I mean, shit, that's not ideal if you're like, it's just also from a psychological standpoint, right? Yeah. More than anything, like you need to walk, but then well, I can relate somewhat, because then like last year I had skin removal surgery. And so, because I lost a lot of weight and then I had the dead skin, and I couldn't move my abdomen for like 6 weeks. Like, it was hard. Like, I couldn't wipe my ass. It was really bad. And I could not really, I don't envy anyone that has to go through like serious surgery or live like that, like day to day.
Yeah. So for me, through the recovery of that surgery, I wasn't able to put any weight on my left leg for 13 weeks after the surgery, which like that's a long time. Yeah. Especially at that time, like I was still very much an athlete. My whole identity was about being an athlete. I'm this, athletic person. Like sports is my life. And without that, like I'm 20. Like what else you got going on in your life? Not that much. So not being able to walk, not being able to do anything. I couldn't even go up the stairs. I literally could do nothing at all. And so yeah, it was a pretty big wake up call. Like, oh shit, this, mine was like a sport related injury kind of thing. And like I was going to get better from it and whatever. But I quickly realized like for some people, this becomes the reality of their life, not because of something that they're going to recover from. They're just not going to recover from it unless they make major life changes, losing weight, getting healthy, whatever. And it can go across injuries. It can be blood pressure related, obesity related, all of the things. But I quickly learned like, hey, this can be a reality for a lot of people, and we need to make this less of a reality for more people and give back.
For sure. So did you like kinesiology?
Yeah, I always had an interest in it. I mean, going through the clinics and stuff was like, you see the anatomy charts and learning how to do the exercises. And when I turn my leg this way, it feels good. And when I turn my leg this way, it feels bad. And so getting into the biomechanics. So yeah, I always liked it. I never thought, I never found school difficult or to be a drag. It wasn't like, and love every second of it. I just didn't find school to be that difficult. And maybe it was because I liked it. Maybe because it's really not that hard if you're thinking about it correctly. I think a lot of people try and just like memorize every single thing in school and don't understand concepts. So that's another slight issue. But yeah, I always liked kinesiology and always then wanted to give back. And always interested in coaching as well. I started coaching soccer when I was maybe like 16, coaching like really little kids and kind of going from there. So I like the aspect of giving back, being a leader, and trying to help other people and bring them up as well.
Gotcha. So it's always something that you've been like passionate about. I was thinking of doing kinesiology, but then I realized like there's certain aspects that I like, there's certain aspects that I don't. One of which is like I like functional anatomy, but not like an advanced anatomy. Like there's like 15 muscles in the forearm, and like nobody's gonna come to me and be like my flexor brachialis, and I can't supinate my infraspinatus. Yeah. It's like I just like spoke gibberish for like 99% of the population.
Yeah. That stuff is important to learn for some people, but like practically speaking, for us as a trainer, like I don't use all of that stuff. Yeah. Like I would say even all of the physiology and exercise science stuff, even more advanced programming and exercise selection, we use like 10% of all the stuff that we know, because most people are just like not that advanced. Most people never get past the basics. And this is not a bad thing. It's not like a shot at anyone. It's just, it is what it is. Like people don't need this 12-month periodized long-term training plan. They need to figure out ways to like eat less cookies and have a little bit more exercise in their life. Like that's what we need. I don't need to have, 17 different squat variations lined up so that you can squat 700 pounds. Like, it's just not happening.
I think if people want to eat the cookie, eat the cookie. What I would say is like eat a healthier version of like a protein cookie. And that's like with my culinary background. I mean, granted, like, you could eat the cookie, but like, especially now, like insomnia cookie, crumble cookie, Craig's cookies, like none of those cookies, like, bro, they're like fucking 600 calories a piece easily. Like crumble cookies, like 900 calories, and you're gonna need a shock of insulin after, right? But it's a matter of like a lifestyle balance, which I'm sure we'll touch on, and that's probably something that you preach and I preach. It's like there's no real, there's not necessary to like do these like large extremes like carnivore or keto or like, man, like. I don't know. I don't even know what he is, but Dr. Bernstein's a really popular one. I hear a lot of people that took him or did it, and nobody has good things to say about that. I don't even know what he does. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I'll push back on the protein cookie thing. I think that this. I don't think it's a bad thing. Okay. So I'm not going to like argue on it.
I'll fight you.
But I think
don't take away my fucking protein cookie.
No. I think that we've gotten too far with this whole like healthy dessert thing, and I think a lot of people have convinced themselves that like. That protein cookie is so good, bro. Yeah. Trust me, it's just as good as the real thing. Like, okay. It's not. Maybe there's some that are like kind of good, whatever, but there's no way that like a healthy cookie on average is better than like the real thing. Now, that doesn't mean that you should never have real cookies. I'm not saying that those are, it's the devil, but you can't be having 15 cookies every day. Like you got to have less junk food and eat a healthy diet, just generally speaking. And so from an actual psychological perspective, I'm not sure that going for the protein cookies or the healthy dessert type of thing, including even like diet sodas. Yeah. I think it's a great step in the right direction. Yeah. But it's not really replacing the psychological habit that comes with, I need that soda, I need that cookie at the end of the night. And I think it's a good step. I think it's a good part of the process, and it can be part of your life. Mm-hmm. I'm not sold that it's like that's the end goal, that you should be doing this Ninja Creamy protein ice cream thing every single night. Like, I think the thing we need to fix eventually, or have a discussion about, is why do you need ice cream every single night?
But what? Okay, so I would equate a large portion of my success to substituting or having healthier substitutions.
Absolutely.
Now, for your first point, like, I don't make, or I would never make a recipe or tell clients to make like a protein cookie that tastes like shit. Like, if anybody's had like Lenny and Larry's, or like the ones they sell at Popeyes, those like are garbage. Any like packaged protein cookies, just like they literally taste like shit. So instead, I'm not aiming for like a 10 out of 10 here. We are not using sugar or butter for the most part, right? So like but like an 8 out of 10, like, tell me that cookie does not look appetizing. That's my favorite. That's like my s'mores protein cookie.
Yeah,
right?
it looks good.
And so, that looks delicious. Come on. So I would say if it's an 8 out of 10 instead of 10 out of 10, then I've accomplished that, because it gets rid of like the craving, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with, per se, like Coke Zero or like zero sugar drinks. I think too much of anything is a bad thing, but I'd rather like, I'm literally drinking a 7-Up Zero. Like, I'd rather have that than diabetes through like regular ones, right?
Absolutely. I 1000% agree with that. I think that's like a great step. I don't know, first step, second step, doesn't matter. It's a great step in the right direction where you're making those healthy substitutions. But then I think, and I'm a huge hypocrite in saying this, but like, we have to get rid of the dependency on these things. So the dependency of that sweet hit, the dessert or whatever it is that's constantly. And I'm a hypocrite because then we talk about coffee, and like, I'm fully dependent on that. And I'm like, yeah, I could quit at any time, but like, I don't want to, like, so there's that. So yeah, I think it's a great thing. It's a great, it's better than the alternative.
Yeah.
But I think that there's another layer to that. But this is also like level 2, level 3 kind of health and fitness advice.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is we got to get people to lose weight.
Yeah.
And to be healthier than they were before.
Yeah.
Then we can start worrying about these more advanced.
Well, rudimentary or basic level, yeah. Like, if you want to have ice cream every night, go for it. Just do the Ninja Creamy. Or if you want to have a pop like every single meal, maybe don't, but like also have Diet Coke instead of regular, because like, just by that, if you're having 4 pops a day, that's like 800 calories. You'll literally lose like 10 pounds in a month just by doing that.
I had a client a couple of years ago, and he was like very beginner, didn't know anything about fitness, had never eaten healthy in his life, and he was 55-ish. And I get all my clients to fill out a food log as part of the first thing, which is pretty common, right? Just write down everything that you eat and drink in rough quantities, and like, let's take a look at it and make some assessments. And so he was drinking 6 to 8 soft drinks a day, and not the diet version.
Oh, was he a diabetic?
He was probably on the way. He wasn't yet, but he was probably on the way. And I said, okay, forget all of, and he was eating out and eating, there was a lot of other things that were not great there. And I said, okay, forget all of the other diet things. Like, we got to take this one step at a time. So, Jim, can you go from that many pops a day? Can you do 1 a day? And he said, you know what? I'm really motivated. I'll do you one better. I'll do 1 every other day. And I said, okay, fire it up. I'm like, let's go. And sure enough, he lost like 12 pounds in the first 2 weeks, just from going from like 6 pops a day or whatever it was to 1 every other day. And he actually did it. Now, the caveat here is I see his food log after the 2 weeks, and every day in there, every other day he had like a Coke or a Pepsi or a 7-Up or whatever it was. But every day he had a Nestea.
Oh.
And for American people, Nestea is sweetened iced tea.
Wait, is that not a thing in America?
No, it's not.
They have Brisk, no?
Yeah, they have Brisk, but they don't have Nestea. It's not really
like a less strong. Okay, it's a less stronger Brisk.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Americans, but like typically when you order an iced tea in the U.S., it's just like tea that is cold. And you'd have to ask for it to be like sweet and iced. No, I went to
Crackle Barrel. I was in the Chicago like last week, and they had like this huge jug of like sweetened iced tea.
Right, but it's called sweetened iced tea. Here, if you just order an iced tea, it's assumed that it's sweetened. It's Nestea, right?
Okay, yeah.
Anyways, every day he had an Nestea, and then every other day he had like a pop. Okay. And I said, what's up with the Nestea every day? I thought you said one every other day. Like, this is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, but like, you didn't tell me about this. And he said, I didn't know that Nestea was a soft drink. Ah. And I said, okay, this is a tough conversation to have now. I mean, you turn around the can, you see that it has 35 grams of sugar or whatever many calories it is. But just to describe the point, in that person's life, absolutely replacing those things with the diet version of the drink is 1000% the right move. Now, there's a lot of other things we need to replace, and eventually we want to kind of get off that. But to the point about the 10 out of 10, kind of the taste of it, or the 10 out of 8 or 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10,
right?
yeah.
10 out of 8 doesn't make sense. Trainers are not good at math. They're only good at counting up to
We're good at 135, 225, 215.
Yeah. And counting reps up to 8. After 8, like I can't be that certain.
Just go to field.
I would rather have a 10 out of 10 experience less often than an 8 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 more frequently. And that's a personal choice.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a right or wrong way to go about this. But when I have a cookie, when I have a dessert, when I have a thing, I want to love it. And if I don't love it, it's just not worth it. The same goes for like pizza and all this stuff. Especially for people who live in Toronto.
Yeah.
There is way too much good pizza readily available for you to be eating like pizza or whatever, like fast food style pizza. Like, there's so much good pizza. Spend the extra $3 and get like a good pizza if you're gonna have pizza. For
me, I have a really good recipe for protein pizza, and so when I crave pizza, I'm not even like a big foodie though. That's the thing. So like if I had to choose, like, I like Detroit style pizza. I'm not like super into like Italian pizza, but when I have the craving for pizza, that's like the one example I can give where it's like, if I make the protein version of the pizza, I'm kind of sufficiently satisfied. Fair. I'm not saying it's 10 out of 10. Granted, I've not been to like Naples, Italy, and like, it might, no, did it make me a pizza, right? But because if it's got sauce, cheese, and like somewhat of a decent dough, and so I'll add turkey pepperoni. I actually like turkey pepperoni versus regular pepperoni. I'm sufficient with that. But I get your point with the cookie. I would just say most people, especially like basic level, they don't want to necessarily completely sacrifice what they are used to, right? So there's certain sacrifices that are needed to be made for the greater good, like potato chips. You technically could make your own in an air fryer, but let's be real, that's a fucking pain in the ass. Like, I've done it. I'm like, I did it. Great. I'm not doing this again. But in terms of the cookie, some people literally don't want to pull the cookie down. So like, if they had it every day, or like a lot of people that I have work with, they have like a sweet tooth, right? And I get that. I'm the same way. So what I'll do, which I technically could like mitigate, but like I enjoy it. I like the taste of chocolate. So I'll have like my steak, and then I'll eat like half a protein bar. And so it's kind of the best of both worlds. Like, I'm not saying like nobody has to do this, but it's better that than like half a Mars bar, right? It's kind of like the yin and the yang. It's the healthier substitution. Yeah. So two things to piggyback off that. One, despite my appearance, my cultural background is Italian and Greek. So I've been surrounded by the like objectively top 2 or at least 2 of the top 5 cuisines in the world my entire life. So I do have a pretty high standard for food. Having said that, I think that there's a lot of guilt associated, and I've seen this with a lot of clients, when they have junk food that's like cheat food, so to speak, at an office party, at a social event, whatever, that they didn't really enjoy. And it's when you have the thing that's not that good and you're like, oh, that, slice of pizza, just to run with that example, was 800 calories, but it was Costco pizza. It wasn't that worth it. And you feel guilty about that because it knocked you off your diet, your digestion was crap, your workout was crap the next day, and you didn't even really enjoy it. Versus the 800 calories worth of pizza that was like a 10 out of 10 pizza for you. You're like, hey, yeah, my digestion wasn't that good, my workout suffered, but like, fuck. Excuse my language. No,
that pizza, I assume so. But like, that pizza was like phenomenal. And I don't regret it for a second. Now, you can't do that every single day because then that 10 out of 10 experience lessens if it's every single day, right? But you got to keep things in check. So there's that psychological example there as well.
No, it's a perfect analogy. I'd give you that, where it's like if the office party's having pizza. No, I'm not going to have it. I'd rather go to like my no-no's Naples, Italy pizza. Like, that's definitely, I guess, logical sense. But I mean, granted, like, if you want to have pizza every day, there's like, you can't really do that. So there's
give and take. There's give and take in the world, and this is just how it is. If we could make the rules, we would, but we don't, and so things are the way they are.
Well, we would be Jesus Christ if we could make the rules. Part the C and get rid of Ozempic. But what are, I guess, like some key or core principles that you do in like your approach to helping people?
What do you mean? Like,
do you have like a main shtick or like principles? Like, here's X, Y, and Z. This is what I do. Like,
I would love to say that it was that it's something that's like so unique or groundbreaking, but the principles are eat real foods. Exercise daily. That doesn't mean train your ass off every single day, but it means move your body in some way every single day. That means going outside. spending time outside, prioritizing your sleep and your relationships in your life. And that's the cornerstone of everything. Now, that doesn't mean you snap your fingers and flip a switch and all of a sudden you're doing all of those things every single day. But that's where we want to get to. So my approach is really, let's take a very accurate assessment of where you're at right now. Then let's take an accurate assessment or a picture of where you'd like to be. And then let's paint the road of how you're going to get there. Now, are you willing and able to travel that road to get there? If yes, then let's proceed. Here are all the road stops along the way. We're going to start with 1 workout a week or 2 workouts a week. And then we're going to bump that up to 3 or 4. We're going to start with 5,000 steps a day and then move that up to 7,000 steps a day. We're going to have pop only once every other day and then maybe once a week and then whatever. So we're just taking small steps to kind of eat healthier whole foods. And of course, there's room for fun and whatever in that. Get your training goals down. So building strength, building muscle, and generally living a healthy lifestyle, which I think that we all know what that is. We can argue about some minor nuance, but we all know what that is, and we need to strive to get there. So it's taking small steps in order to get there. As far as a specific approach, the way that I always like to say it is my approach is that I have no approach, and it's an individual thing, right? We're all trying to get at the same stuff: weight loss, muscle gain, strength gain, all that stuff. There are a million ways to get there, and all of them could work in theory. It's just whatever applies to that individual. So I'm not the kind of person who's going to be, all of my clients do intermittent fasting. All of my clients eat this for breakfast. All of my clients do these exact workouts. The principles are the same, but the specific strategy is going to differ to each client.
Well, that just gets into marketing principles, right? Like, I mean, I think to break the fourth wall, like if any trainer, like, oh, this is my formula or specific training principle to do X, Y, and Z, it's kind of just, well, it's marketing. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm sure there's really nothing too unique nowadays in terms of like specific crazy diets, and if there are, then I would question that. But I'm sure some people like genuinely, like, there's keto coaches and that's all they do, which, what the fuck. But
you need to hire someone to tell you not to eat carbs, I guess.
I mean, yeah, like, yes, I don't get that. Like, before he started coaching coaches for coaching coaches, the King Keto guy, that's all he did. He was just like, hey, he was like the fucking GH Mr. Clean. Oh, look at me, I'm on keto. Do you want to eat your favorite foods? Like, no, I remember, I've actually blocked them because I just kept getting the ads. I was like, bro, I don't need my own fitness app. Like, I don't need to pay you $10,000 to make an app that I don't need. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God, I knew someone that like actually signed up with him, and he's a fucking idiot. But on that note, controversy. Or actually, before we go into the controversials, is there like a specific example that you want to mention in terms of like any memorable like client success stories that you had, or like just in general with that? Yeah,
one that really comes to mind, like the first one that pops in the head when you say it, is there was this one client I had, and it's a good example of how taking a principles-based approach rather than specific things can have a really big effect. So he wasn't that healthy, overweight, all that stuff. And one of the things, again, through the food log and through a discussion with the client, is that he was drinking coffee like pretty late into the day, like 6 to 8 p.m. was kind of like the last coffee of the day. And again, there was a lot of stuff wrong, quote unquote, with like his nutrition approach. Was eating out a lot, just like not doing a lot of stuff right, and admittedly so. And I said, okay, let's one step at a time here. For this week, all I need you to do is you need to have that last coffee has got to be like at 2 p.m. or whatever the specific time was. He said, okay, I can commit to that. Sure enough, 1 week later, down 7 pounds in a week. And we only made one change, which was changing the time of the last coffee. So if I was a disingenuous asshole, I would start a program about how to lose 7 pounds in 7 days, and I would sell it on like, you're drinking coffee too late. Coffee is the source of your problems, which, again, what a hypocrite. I post my coffee every single day on my Instagram. What happened there is that because he stopped drinking coffee earlier in the day, he was able to sleep better at night, get to sleep earlier, wake up earlier. Because he was able to wake up earlier, he was able to have a better breakfast and prepare lunch to take with him to work. Because of that, he stopped eating out for lunch. Because of that, he had better energy, got a workout in, and got more steps in the day. Because of that, was feeling better, and then it's just this positive cascade of things. So it's a great example of how one seemingly small change can actually have a large cascade of positive effects after it. And we need to look for these small levers to pull that have big changes. It's really hard to overhaul everything. If I would have said to that client, I need you to wake up early, I need you to prepare your breakfast, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, probably would not have happened. But we changed one thing and had this big swing of effects. So that's like one pretty memorable story and a pretty drastic one, that it was like a pretty significant amount of weight loss within a short period of time. And then of course it tapered off and continued after then, but it wasn't losing 7 pounds a week every week just by that. And we continued to expand and get better at that.
But so, it's a great example of like small gradual changes make like giant impacts. Like I tell clients all the time, like just do the Finding Nemo, like keep swimming.
Yeah.
Right. And just, I always say like consistency is better than failure, but then like with your example, that's like, it's a perfect example. Just like a minor change, but it was like a domino effect, but a positive domino effect, not a negative one.
Yeah.
But you brought up an interesting point where it was like, if you were a facetious asshole, you would like 7 pounds in 7 days, do this crazy thing. And one of the reasons I actually reached out, I was planning on asking you for a while, but I saw one of your posts, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, pull it up on Instagram. But it was about like you spending a crap ton of money on a coach or coaches.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's going to be some fitness coaches listening or watching this. And I think this was like a really great post or carousel. So for anyone who's watching on audio, it's like Daniel made one of those, was it like a Twitter type of thread, right? And he spent 10 grand on business coaching, and it was a giant waste of time. There are 2 major lessons he can share with you. I mean, you want to read this because it was kind of your thing.
Sure, you're going to read the whole thing?
I don't know.
Sure. So I can just tell the story.
Yeah, just paraphrase.
Honestly, I don't remember exactly what the lessons are that I put there, but I can probably get them out quickly if we scroll through them. Anyways, I spent 10 grand on a business coaching program, and it really does pain me to admit that and say that out loud, that it wasn't worth it. Right?
Did you want to mention who it was?
I'll tell you off air, but
Okay.
I don't want to mention it. And I'll talk about that as well. Why I don't want to mention.
Because I've had instances with previous coaches or mentors, and I'll just talk mad shit about them because I really don't care.
Yeah. So
but maybe like
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why that I do care.
Yeah.
In a second. But so I spent 10 grand on this thing. Turned out to be a total bust. Right.
Okay.
And hey, it happens. I feel like I got. I feel like I'm a very proud person. It feels hard for me to like admit that and kind of say that out loud. But it is what it is. And if I can, first of all, it was kind of cathartic to write this post and feel like, hey, I'm putting it out there. I got a lot of positive messages in return of other people who had been through the same thing, felt shitty about it, or other people who are like, hey, I was actually on the fence about signing up for such and such program, and not necessarily the same one that I did, but a different one, because there's so many of them now, as you know. Everybody is a fucking coach who coaches how to coach other coaches.
And they're like,
it's the biggest circle jerk, nothing. And there's some people who are older than that who are like been in our shoes before, and they're just like taking advantage. And that's what I really hate. A 19-year-old kid who's trying to do it is like, okay, I guess you have 0 clients anyway, so you're not actually hurting anyone other than making a fool of yourself.
No, but you're right. There are the guys that are like 30 or even 40 that are like 100% just taking advantage of guys like us who are looking at them, but it's really almost like a Ponzi scheme.
Right. And so the reason that I joined this program, and this is where it kind of gets related to fitness, right? My business was doing fine, right? But success is kind of like a weird word to use because like my business is successful in that it funds my life and it's profitable and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But would I want it to be more, 2, 3, 10 times as big? Absolutely. Right. So it's one of these principles that I often talk about where it's okay to, you should be content with where you are, but you should also want to improve. This goes for general life stuff, but also for your fat loss. There's too much of this like, oh, I'm good as I am. I don't need to change. You are good as you are, but you can also want to be better. Those two things are not mutually exclusive.
That's a bar.
Thank you. Anyways, I joined this thing because I was like, hey, I want to get to whatever the next level is. I have some friends in the program. I've heard good things, blah, blah, blah. And I was already and had been in some other type of business mentorships. Like, hey, maybe there's something I'm missing here. Maybe there is like a tactic, a secret, so to speak, of something that I'm missing, something that I could be doing that's going to kind of bump me up here. And I was like, I'll give it a shot. At the end of the day, it's 10 grand. It's not a small amount of money.
Did you pay in full?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's not a, this was like a year ago, so this didn't happen like 2 weeks ago.
No, okay,
But,
granted, still. Like, so it's not like a fresh wound.
It's not that fresh, no. I mean, well, it's 10 grand.
It's right.
10 grand is not a small amount of money, but it wasn't an amount of money where like, oh, I'm going into debt, I'm gonna be on the streets if this doesn't work out.
Some
or
of those
anything
coaches
like
that, like, well, I'm not gonna name names, but like those 30, those 40-year-olds, they're literally like their whole sales tactic is like, bro, get let's go, like, set third mortgage, baby. You need this in your life.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Yeah, it's fucking pathetic. Good Life taught me that, by the way. Well, not for the third mortgage, but they're like, yeah, if someone's broke, just tell them to go into debt. They need to change their life. And I mean, to a certain extent, yeah, like, invest into your health, but like, don't invest into your health if you can't fucking buy groceries because of that.
Exactly. That's disgusting behavior. And I like, there's no scenario where I would have done that. So in my head, it was like, listen, I'm going into this. I have a positive mindset about it. I've heard good things, blah, blah, blah. I've done my research. I know the people who run the thing. And if it doesn't work out, like, the absolute worst case is I lose 10 grand, which, like, that hurts, but not going to be such a giant negative on my entire life, right? To interject my own story here. I have a client who's like done very well. And he always says about money, he's like, it's just money, you get more of it. And when he first started saying that to me, I'm like, this fucking pretentious rich asshole. But then he kept saying it more and more. I'm like, you know what? He's kind of right. Like, you can just get more money. You continue to work, you make more money. There's always opportunities to make more money. If you spend money in some way to improve your life or have a good experience or whatever, it's a good use of money. Anyways, so I did that, and through it, because it kind of like didn't really work out for me, I realized, there's no secrets. There's nothing that you're really missing. Maybe at a higher level, if there was some, high level Facebook ads funnel thing, but like, I'm not there, and I'm not sure that I'll ever really want to run my business in that way. Anyways, didn't really learn a ton. The other thing I learned was, like, a lot of people kind of like just continue to talk a lot of shit, and they're just not honest about what they do, where they front like something is better than it is. I'm a business coach. All my clients make all this money and all this stuff. And then you talk to these people and like, yeah, I do well, but like, they tell you a number of how much money they make. And you're like, I thought it was like 3 times that. Yeah. Like, that's good, but don't get me wrong, that no one's dreaming about making $60K in their life. You know what I mean?
No, it's the same thing. Like, there's guys that like are literally photoshopping like Stripe screenshots, right? And they're like, oh, bro, this is my program. This is what you can expect. When they're literally, I'm not technical, but like, I saw a video where you could literally just change the code to Stripe and change the screenshot of what it shows.
Yeah, not difficult to do. Spend 3 minutes on Canva, you'll figure out how to do that, right? But the fitness analogy of that is like, when you see these people online who are like super jacked and shredded, cover model ready 12 months of the year. One, a ton of photo editing that's happening there. If you're someone who falls into this, there's a guy on Instagram.
Goob. I fucking love Goob. Shout out to
He's
Goob.
Amazing.
Yeah.
He kind of calls this stuff out. And once you sort of watch a few of his videos, you start to figure out like things to look for in other people's photos.
And everybody,
and you notice
everybody, but like, what, 95% of, especially females, like, I'm not a misogynist, but I think it just has to go with like where they're mentally at, and it's because other people do it and then they start doing it. Yes. But even guys
absolutely,
IFBB pros are doing it. Like, if anybody doesn't know,
these are like top 0.1% physiques in the world.
Like, literally less than that. And like people would die to have their physique, and they're still fucking photoshopping.
Yeah. So a lot of photoshopping and a lot of steroid use and abuse, which is a separate problem. Yeah. But people who don't talk about it. I have nothing against anyone who uses steroids. Do whatever you want. I don't care. But just be honest about it. You can't be saying like, I took this protein shake and
I took turkesterone.
Yeah, I took turkesterone and I just like, it's creatine, bro. Trust me. Like, that's what made me, 275 pounds and 4% body fat. Like, it's just, let's just be real about it. So there's a lot of that kind of like fronting like things are better than they are, and then when you get into it, you're like, oh yeah, this is actually like not it. And so there's that element of lying, which is not great. But the reason, just to kind of make the story full circle, is that the reason that I didn't say who the name is, and I won't say it publicly again, happy to share
cool, bro. Like, I don't want to put you in a pickle.
It's because a couple of things. One, this is my fault.
Okay.
I don't blame them for 100% of this thing. I don't think it was necessarily a scam or that I was totally ripped off. I think that I was lied to, and I think that I was misled. So that for sure.
Well, then it is scammy. It's subjective.
I think that I was more misled.
But it's very mature of you to say that, dude. Like, because a lot of people, like, I've been accused of being a scam, and I'm like, how am I a scam when I provided you services and that were rendered,
right? And
you didn't do shit,
right?
That's not a scam. That's called you not doing anything,
right? So they don't need to deserve all of the blunt of this. Two, like, who am I to make some impact? It won't matter to them, and it won't care, right? Yeah. What matters is if people talk to me in person, I can talk to them.
Yeah.
And having said that, there are even a small amount of people who I would still recommend that program for.
Really?
People who are very, very beginners.
Oh, okay,
or people who are like more high level.
How does it work for... Wait, what?
This is the interesting thing. If you don't know anything,
yeah.
but you're a good trainer, but you don't know anything about business. If you're not a good trainer, like become a good trainer first. Forget
1,000%.
all the business programs. Like they will not help you.
Well, and sorry to interrupt, but there's some, and almost all of them that I hear, like that are fitness coaches or coaches that coach fitness coaches. There we go. They're like, yeah, it doesn't matter your certification. Or King Keto used to say this. Hey, do you work out? Like his ad was like, hey, do you work out? Do you want to make money because you work out and you're in good shape? No. And I think he blocked me because I would put a comment on every single one of his posts. I'm like, bro, you need to educate yourself. You need to be a good trainer before you start charging people money. Yeah. Just because you're in good shape does not give you the right to charge people. I mean, you can, right? But I completely agree with that point.
You certainly can, and it would certainly possibly be profitable and work as a business. Is it ethical? I think no. Are you eventually going to run into some problem where it's like, hey, I actually don't know how to train? Like you can sell the shit out of everything.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to deliver the product, like eventually your business is going to implode. So people who are very beginners who are, again, good trainers, but just don't know anything about business, getting started, getting the groundwork done, for sure. I don't know if it's worth 10 grand, but like
I think I know the company you're talking about.
It's worth it.
Is it an acronym?
Yeah, but they're all acronyms.
No, some are not. Okay, maybe we'll talk.
We'll talk after. Or if you're like very high level where you have a team of coaches under you and you're kind of doing, like, more ad stuff and like you're running a business. You're not just like a coach who's offering coaching services. Anyone in the middle of that, which is most people, like this is, these things are not really for you.
Well, I find that was like, sorry, I didn't mean.
I was just gonna say, what I will say is there are things out there that I've joined and am part of that I will say are valuable.
Okay.
And so I'm happy to talk about those.
Yeah.
Jordan Side and Mike Vacanti, who are names that trainers mostly should know. Probably Jordan Side is one that more people know.
The BJJ guy, or jiu-jitsu.
That's crazy to me that you know him as like a jiu-jitsu guy.
Well, no,
he does do jiu-jitsu. But
I know of him because one of my buddies did jiu-jitsu and also hired him as his business coach, who was a fitness coach, and then like he told him to join like a bunch of Facebook groups and stuff.
Interesting. Okay, so they have
like a while.
Yeah, so they have like a mentorship group.
Yeah.
It's pretty low investment.
Yeah.
Right, and you get good value for what you pay for.
Yeah.
They're not trying to be like a guru. Like I'm going to make you all this money in a couple months. Yeah. It's like foundational stuff. They talk about actual training things in that group. People who are beginners and like, hey, I have this problem with the client. How do we talk through it? So that's great. Another thing that I've joined was, and I don't remember the prices of these, and these prices have gone up since I joined them, but James Smith, who is probably another big deal. Yeah. Great guy, great creator, great coach. He has like a mentorship group thing where it's a little bit more tactical on the content side of things.
Yeah.
Very much about editing and YouTube and emails and a little bit more tactical.
Yeah.
So that's great. But again, both of these are not like promises to make you tons of money. They're not falsely saying that they're providing coaching and then actually just throwing you in a Facebook group
or a school community
and it's more tactical, good value for the money, and really good information. Well, so I would say those things are good, but these kind of mentorship things are much better, and nothing is going to beat meeting people in the industry, on like having a relationship with other people in the industry who are a little bit ahead of you and talking to them, be like, hey, what did you do about this? People are willing to help.
Yeah.
Go to industry events. This past weekend I was at an event in Edmonton with a bunch of other trainers. Andrew Coates hosts that event, the Evolve Strength and Business Conference. Phenomenal. You meet people there, you meet people in real life, you shake hands, you have dinner, you work out, you do the things. That's where you're going to learn more stuff than like trying to find the secret on an online thing.
Well, that's why I like with this podcast is like I've met a lot of people that I've like networked with, and it's one thing that I've not in purposeful, but like neglected, because it's like I never had I guess what's the word, like contact list. It's not like what you know sometimes, it's who you know, right? And that's a very valid point. But I think I forget my point with this, but no, it's very big of you to like kind of take accountability, because it's like the same thing with some people like that hire a coach not for business but for fitness.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of together. It's a relationship, right?
Right. And that goes back to the other reason why I don't want to call out these people publicly, because there are people in that group who I do like and who I am friends with and all of these things. And I don't need to burn bridges that don't need to be burned.
No, that's
by calling out people publicly and people who will kind of get possibly caught in the crossfire, so to speak. So there's no real benefit to me at this point. Maybe down the road, who knows? But like, there's no benefit to me to like just call him out and picking a fight that is not going to do well for either of us.
No. So on this topic, like, have you what challenges? And I guess you probably could list 1,000 things, but like main challenges you faced was like building your own like coaching brand.
Yeah, good question. I mean, I don't want to pretend like I'm some expert on building businesses. Like I've been doing it for enough time, and again, successful air quotes. The biggest challenge is really just it's getting clients is like the main thing, but that's also the challenge with every business ever is lead acquisition for the most part. Building a brand, I guess to be like very vulnerable, and this goes back to not very vulnerable, but very frank. To go back to the very beginning of this podcast, you asked what my sob story is.
Yeah.
I feel like because I don't lean into my story enough, / it doesn't feel like it was that transformative. I've never been severely overweight and lost a ton of weight, or done a crazy bodybuilding show.
Too late.
I have. Well, that's what that picture is right there. Is like I gained a bunch of weight on purpose and then lost it very quickly.
Seriously? That's actually sick, dude.
Yeah, but it's not that much weight, and whatever. I didn't get that like lean.
No, that reminds me of a story. Like way back in the day, there was a trainer who like didn't understand how difficult it was to like lose 40 pounds or 50. It went somewhat viral. It was on like Daily Mail. I don't remember his name, so sorry, I can't give you the credit. But basically, there was a trainer who purposely, like, he was never big his entire life. He just woke up with a 6-pack, and then like he did not understand how it was so difficult for sedentary people or people that were overweight to change their habits. He thought it was so fucking easy. Yeah. So I think it was like for 30 days he just gained as much weight as possible.
No, it was like a whole year.
I think
he gained like a crazy amount of weight.
And then basically like he lost the weight, but he realized it's not that easy once you completely 180 your life.
Yeah. And even still, it's like you're doing that on purpose.
Yeah.
Right? True. Like even this, like again, I gained like 35 pounds in like 6 months to do that, which is like, whatever. It was hard to keep eating that much. And like I was strong as hell, I was training still, whatever. But in my head, it's like this wasn't a challenge because I was doing this on purpose to document the process. And then when I lost the weight, it was like, yeah, this isn't. And this sounds like pretentious and like an asshole to say it, but it's the truth. It's like, this is not hard for me. This is my job. This is what I do. I know all of the technical aspects. This is just what it is. I do not go through the same struggles that someone who is overweight, not on purpose, goes through. Because I've done this on purpose. And again, this is my job and all of these things. I'm hungry, but I'm dieting, and like I just suck it up and deal with it. And like that, it is what it is. Now, that's not how I coach my clients. I don't expect anyone else to do that or to feel that or whatever, but that's the reality of what it is. So circling back to the branding thing, because I don't have this very strong, sob story, I feel like it's a great marketing tool because there are other people who are in that boat, who've been overweight, who've been XYZ thing. And they're like, yeah, I've been through that too. Like, I'm going through that right now. Like, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I have a story about injuries and overcoming that and whatever. But to me, it's just my life. And so I need to lean into that a little bit more. This is like one of my shortcomings for sure, my branding and whatever. But the thing is like using this King Keto guy, just because it's the first example that came to my head because you've been talking about it. If you brand yourself around like, I'm the blank guy, I'm the keto guy, I'm the running guy, I'm the whatever guy, that's a great marketing tool.
Yeah.
Not always the best thing, but like at least people know you for something, right? I haven't found that thing yet where I'm the blank guy.
I think you're out of a lot of people that I follow on Instagram, you're like pretty authentic, right? So I think that's all you really need. I mean, are you going to go viral? Are you going to like get a bunch of clicks? Probably not, but you're definitely like your engagement on your post. You have like 2,200 followers, but like you're getting like 20% of your followings to like your post, right?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, so the whole authenticity and like telling the truth and like this stuff, I get this comment a lot. Like, oh, you say it like it is and you're like real. And this is not a facade that I put on, right? It's just who I am. Like, it's hard for me to remember if I start lying about stuff, like that's more work. It's just easier for me to tell the truth and say it like it is. And I also do think that like we've gone too far in this whole like being nice thing. I think that a quote that I came up with it, but I've been saying lately is like, you don't always have to be nice, but you do always have to be good. Yeah. So being nice it's fine. I can tell you, oh, you look great. You're good job. You're doing okay. But is that always helpful?
No.
Sometimes people need to be like, hey, you didn't hit it today.
Yeah.
Like you're dragging ass. You're fucking off on your diet. Like you're just not doing the things. And specific language for specific people, right? I'm talking on a podcast. We're talking to one person trying to, but like, you know, whatever, right? There's lots of people listening. I'm not coaching you as an individual or anything like that.
Yeah.
So different language for different people, but people sometimes need to hear it. Sometimes people need that someone to be like, hey, you're the only person who tells me the truth in my life. And that's what I like about you. And my clients say that stuff to me. It's like, I need you to tell it to me like it is, because everyone else tells me that I'm good and I don't like the way I am.
Yeah.
So I'm obviously not good. There's this disconnect there. And when someone tells you, this is what you got to do, and this is why you're messing up, like, okay, good. I can deal with that. And then they go and execute and they feel good about it. So maybe that's my thing, but I don't know how to brand as like I'm the truth guy.
Yeah, it's hard, but bro, you brand yourself. Like, I mean, you get pigeonholed though. Yeah. That's the pro and the con of like the marketing aspect of like, if you're the one guy, like there's like the knees over toe guy. Like if that, God forbid, he wants to like, I don't know, become a chef, he's fucked. He's just, you know, but okay, granted, he's doing pretty good. So I don't think he's going to change anytime soon. I forgot my point with this. My point was like, I have a lot of clients that tell me the same thing. And one thing that I've always been told is that I'm blunt, sometimes too blunt, but I don't care to hurt people's feelings. Like, and I'm not telling, like, bro, I'm. You're
not going out of your way to hurt people's feelings. I get it.
Like, also, like, that's why I have a call with people, and it's like, I'll just be the same guy that I am now, like on a Zoom call with someone. If they're gonna get offended because I'm like, bro, you need to like not be fat, like, we're probably not going to work together. Now, could I be less blunt? Yeah, but like, do I want to change who I am to accommodate them? No, because like, it's also a matter of like, do we connect and do you like me? That's the biggest like thing of like having a client to coach or vice versa relationship. If you don't gel, like, the fuck's going to happen?
Right. I mean, if there's coaches who are listening to this, and again, not that I'm some business guru and you know whatever, but there's like 8 billion people in the world.
Yeah.
Granted, not all of them have internet access, but let's just roll with it. 8 billion people in the world. All of them have a body that needs to be taken care of. So theoretically, every single person in the entire world is your potential customer, right? They won't all be, but in theory, there are a lot of fitness coaches out there, and there are a lot of people out there who have a lot of followers. But the biggest names in our industry have 1 million followers. You know, there's no one in fitness that I can think off the top of my head who has like, 50 mil, like some, like LeBron James or anything like that. Like no one's a real celebrity. Nobody in fitness is a real celebrity, right? You take the biggest name in fitness, maybe Chris Bumstead to a degree.
That was what I was going to say, yeah.
But he's kind of transcended. It's a different thing. He's not a coach. So any coach is like, Chris Bumstead's coach, I bet most people couldn't even name him, and they certainly would not recognize him walking down the street.
You're right.
No one's a legit celebrity. Even if you have 1 million followers on Instagram, there are 350 million people in the US. It's like a drop in the bucket percentage-wise. So, there's a lot of people out there. There's enough to go around for everyone, and you will find your people and the people who gel with you. It's not really worth it. In the early days, if you're just getting started, it's definitely worth it to work with people who you don't like and who are really challenging. But eventually, like, you got to just pick the people who you like and who like you, and it'll just make your life so much easier and your product or service so much better as well.
So the last thing about, like, I guess the building a business, and I mean, I'm not like a 7-figure coach. I mean, I'm getting there, but like, the point is, how would you suggest, if there's anyone listening, like, to retain, that's number one, and then I guess gain clients?
Retaining is about being a good coach, right? If you do what you say that you're going to do, client says, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, and you coach them through losing that 10 pounds, and you do it in a way that is helpful and good to them and not completely overhauling their life. It's just be a good coach. That is rule number one, and like rule 1 to 10 is be a good coach. And then getting new clients, probably the biggest way is also referrals. So again, goes back to being a good coach. Because of the nature of our business, and especially if you work for yourself, we are not Amazon or Walmart. You don't need millions of customers. If you have 20 coaching clients, you're going to be doing pretty well for yourself. And that's 20 people. Remember, 8 billion people in the world, 20 people to be your clients. You don't need a ton of clients. You need to build them up slowly. And so if you are a good coach, you'll have some people, train some people for free if you need to, friends and family, get them good results, have them ask their friends and family and that kind of stuff. And then your referrals will grow through being a good coach. That's probably the number one way. Posting content on social media is good, I guess. It's not like the best way to get clients. You're competing against a lot of things.
Well, I find lead quality is not the greatest through that, unless they're consuming a lot of content, which, to break the fourth wall again, that's kind of why I'm doing a podcast, where it's like people get to like you, know you, trust you, build rapport with you, even if they haven't met you in person. It's like, that's why it's like authenticity. Like, I'm not going to put on some fucking facade. I'm not going to try to not, I mean, I wish I could swear less, but it's just like who I am, you know what I mean? Like, and then it's like, I'm overthinking and analyzing all this shit, right? And it's like, if someone likes listening to us or me having a conversation with someone about fitness, they learn something, and then they watch another podcast, they're probably going to be more inclined to work with me.
Absolutely. I noticed the same thing through my podcast. People are like, oh, I listened to, 27 of your podcast episodes. Like, I finally ready to coach or hire you for coaching.
Well, and I feel like they're probably, when it comes to, like, I guess the sales aspect, is like the objectionless, like, or maybe one. I got to think about it. Well, no, you listen to 27 hours of me talking. Like, we're well,
this is the thing that with posting content and with the podcast, because podcast goes so much deeper, is that typically sales calls for me, like, the people already have a really good idea of who I am and what I'm about. 100%. And so I'm not really like selling myself so much, as more just explaining how things are going to work, tell them the cost of the program, and then like they either just say yes or no. But like, so my close rate is like inflated, I would say, because of that. Now, I'm also not getting like tons of leads where I'm swamped with like 15 sales calls every day, and I don't want to be like that. I can't take 15 clients on a week anyways, like I'm a one-man show, and I wouldn't be able to provide good service for that many people all at once.
See, that's what makes you a good coach, though. And I say the same thing to other people. Like, I wouldn't want to scale to the point of like hiring a closer.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, sure, like we can paint like a perfect picture and I'm making $1 million a month, but no, bro, like, I really don't want an infrastructure. I would be happy with doing like having a consistent 1 or 2 clients a week. So maybe 5 to 8 a month. Right. And then it gets to the point where it's like you said, like, if someone has, I guess it depends on how much they're charging, but like, newsflash, maybe don't charge like $200 a month, because you're worth more than that if you actually know what the fuck you're talking about and doing. But to each their own. If you don't know what you're doing and you're 19 and have a 6-pack, then charge $200 a month. You deserve to get paid that. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't take on so many clients, like, genuinely. Like, there was a point where it was like last year, I don't know why I got so busy. I think it was just happenstance. And like, I had like 50 clients. I had to get an assistant coach for like 2 months. I didn't like that. Right. Because I couldn't be like personable with like the clients. And some of them they told me after, like, when we talked about renewals or like why they didn't continue, they're like, yeah, I want to work with you. And then you passed me on to like Joe Schmo. And I felt bad. Right. So I guess that's good on the business side. Let's get into controversy.
My favorite thing.
So what are your thoughts on Ozempic?
Yeah. So I think that a lot of the controversy around Ozempic is internet bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not pretending to play one. I'm not pretending to be like an expert on Ozempic and whatever, but I've had clients who are on it. I've talked to actual doctors and listened to plenty of speeches and talks and stuff on this. I've tried to do my homework, because it's here to stay. And like, if you're a coach and you're not educated on this stuff, like, you're falling behind. So my thoughts are this. I think it's very useful for some people, and I think it's completely a cop-out for many others. The people who I would say it's like probably useful for, and again, talk to your doctor, all that stuff. And I'm not going to say that again, because I'm not going to.
I'm just saying, I'm putting my 2 cents into there. Yeah, it's a controversial opinion, but like, if you're 300 pounds, you go talk to your doctor, he's going to put you on Ozempic. Like, he's not, most of them.
Yes.
So that's my pet peeve with it. In most practical applications, talk to your doctor. But do you know how many hours are required for a doctor to become a doctor in Canada for them to learn about nutrition?
It's like very few.
It's like one.
Yeah.
One singular hour about nutrition. So I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying I know more than doctors. I'm just saying, if a 300-pound person walks into a doctor's office tomorrow and says, I want to lose weight, the doctor's going to put you on Ozempic, and the doctor should instead tell you to go for a walk.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Talk to the doctor about contraindications if you have other issues or other medications that are, I don't know the interaction, but all of that aside, and we don't need to keep talking about that. If you're severely overweight, 300 plus, and you've been trying for a long time, and nothing is working. And I believe people are truly trying.
Yeah.
It's false to say that nothing is working and I'm different and I can't lose weight. Like, that is most likely false, right? You haven't found the approach that works yet. You haven't hired the person to hold you accountable. They're big bone. Like, no one's that big bone, right? But no shade on you. Like, it is what it is. Ozempic works, and these other drugs work. There are stronger drugs already in production. Some of them are currently available in the U.S., and some of them are not yet FDA approved, but they're coming very soon. It works, and the way that it works is that it essentially makes you feel less hungry, which therefore makes you eat less, which therefore, shocker, makes you lose weight. Great. Now, the downside of it, there are a bunch of potential downsides. A lot of the negative effects that come from Ozempic are actually, one, things that are caused by your current level of obesity, and it just eventually catches up to you. Two, because you're in a steep caloric deficit for a extended period of time. As fitness coaches, we often talk about, like, beware of these crazy fad crash diets. If you just did that without Ozempic, you would have some of these issues because you're not eating enough. You're destroying your body. Your body's eating itself. That's what fat loss is. And that happens with Ozempic. If you're not eating a nutritious diet, you can't be eating cheeseburgers all day and be on Ozempic. And if you eat less enough, you'll lose weight. It'll work, but with a cost. You should still be on a healthy diet. You should still be eating adequate levels of protein. You should still be strength training and trying to preserve and increase your muscle strength and size. You should still be sleeping well and drinking water and not drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes and doing whatever else. Like, you should still be trying to live a healthy lifestyle. And that is going to negate a lot of the negative effects that are going to come with it. Also, it will then eventually possibly help you to come off of the drug once you've established these healthy habits. One of the things that people have reported with these drugs is that there is a huge decrease of what's called food noise. And food noise is essentially, I don't think it's like an official term, but essentially it's like, I just can't stop thinking about food all day. And it's always on my mind. And even after I eat, I'm still hungry. And if you can quiet that voice in your head, then you can be like, yeah, I had dinner and I'm good now. I don't need to snack on something at night while I'm watching TV. So for those people who really, really struggle with that and haven't found anything else to work and have a significant amount of weight to lose, it's certainly an option. If you're 20 pounds overweight and you want to use Ozempic to get lean for summer, it's probably just not actually going to help you a ton. And it's an unnecessary expense. And I think the risks are actually pretty low of Ozempic and these drugs, but it's not zero.
Yeah.
And so the risk reward ratio to losing 20 pounds for summer is not there. It's the same argument as saying hey, I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle. Well, the fastest way to do that would be to start taking steroids. But that's expensive. That's dangerous if you're not doing it right. There's a lot more that goes into it. So sure, it's the fastest way to do it, but it's not the best way to do it. So that's kind of my thoughts on it in a nutshell.
Well, I honestly, surprisingly, I don't really disagree with most or pretty much anything. So I would just, I would say the only time I actually do agree with the Ozempic is, if you're needing it, specifically for diabetes. But the thing, there's obviously type 1 diabetics and type 2 diabetics. Most type 2 diabetics, and I was one, so I can say this, they get to that point because of neglect, and they put themselves in that position. So that's not really you're not gonna negate being you're gonna improve your insulin sensitivity or being able to live life with diabetes if you're on semaglutide or you have that, but maybe prevent getting to that point first.
Sure, that's the biggest thing. And so here's a controversial take if you want one.
Okay.
Type 2 diabetes should not exist.
I agree, actually.
It is completely the fault of our society. No one catches it by accident. Right?
It's not like COVID.
Type 1 diabetes, obviously you're born with that, can't do anything about it. It is what it is, right? Type 2 diabetes, it's just it's your fault or the fault of your surroundings, not 100% just you, but whatever. It's completely controllable, reversible even, and we don't need it to exist. It should not exist in a properly functioning society.
Completely agree.
And so if we're able to stop that, think of the healthcare, we're both Canadian. Think of the healthcare cost savings if type 2 diabetes was just a thing of the past.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. In the US, same thing, and more so, even though it's not same publicly funded, whatever. Unbelievable. Now, the thing with Ozempic and diabetes is and again, I'm not a researcher, but it helps diabetes because it helps you lose weight.
Yeah.
They had to say that it's for type 2 diabetes because obesity is not a disease that you can provide a drug for.
Yeah.
It is now, but it wasn't initially.
Yeah.
So when you're spending millions of dollars to research a drug, you have to have a disease to prescribe it for. Type 2 diabetes, we know that if you lose enough weight and get healthier, you can reverse or at least reduce your severity of your type 2 diabetes. So they use that as like as a front, but it doesn't there's nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't do something special for your type 2 diabetes. It doesn't even do something special specifically for obesity. You can out-eat Ozempic if you want to. I know people who have done it. I had a client who, he wasn't really a client, but whatever. He's used Ozempic twice. He's done 2 stints on it. Eats Wendy's cheeseburgers every day for lunch.
Wonderful.
And multiple. And didn't lose even a single pound. I'm like, well... Yeah, what do you want me to say, man? It's not magic. It works because it helps you eat less. Yeah. If you find a way to override the action of the drug and eat more, it's not going to work. Valid. It's not magic. And so same with diabetes. It doesn't do anything special for your diabetes other than it helps you lose weight, and therefore you'll help your diabetes.
I would say the one thing with type 2 diabetes that I see a lot, a giant commonality, is it's a lot of your environment, what's around you.
For sure.
So it's typically your mom has diabetes, and then your grandma has diabetes, your mom has diabetes, you have diabetes, and then you're what's also hard is you're the first person in that generation where it's you're trying to break that cycle, right? Where it's you're just a happenstance of your environment. Now, literally, as you mentioned, it's all controllable, but it's because you're all eating shit and you're all having a lot of sugar, but that makes it a lot harder. For me, it wasn't really I became a diabetic because of not necessarily my environment. It was because of my choices, and it got worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, I don't mean it to say it if you're super overweight and have diabetes, it's 100% your fault.
Yeah.
What I mean is that it is technically controllable. Yes. Very difficult to control. Yes. Granted, there's a lot of psychosocial, even economical factors that go into that for sure. But those things are reversible, and you can overcome those choices. People like yourself have done it, so it's not impossible. There's a whole lot of things that go into it, but the point is to say you didn't just catch it because you breathed in the air.
No, it's not
you didn't just catch it. Exactly.
I think some people act as if they did. They're I just slipped on a banana peel.
Exactly. It doesn't. It's not like that.
I got the diabetes. Yeah. Oh, that's the next guess, but that's forecasting. If anybody's interested. So what are your thoughts on the body positivity movement?
Oh man, this goes back to the whole being good versus being nice thing. You can be overweight and still think that you're beautiful, and other people might think that you're beautiful, and maybe you are, maybe you aren't, and beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and so whatever. Do your thing. If you think that you look amazing being 350 pounds, by all means, go ahead. And you should love yourself at any size and any weight and the way you look. However, you should also want to be better. The other thing, I was going to wrap it up. Don't worry. The other thing with that, and this is the thing that really gets me. It's one thing to think that you're pretty and be positive about your. I say pretty. I don't mean necessarily females. Dad bod is also very much a thing. So men and women here. You don't get to decide what you think about your health. Health is objective. If your blood pressure is through the roof, you don't get to be no, I actually like it how I am. You can choose that, but you're going to die. Yeah. This is not your choice. You can choose to be obese and feel beautiful. Go ahead. I think you should improve that, but you don't get to be obese and say, no, I'm actually perfectly healthy. Yeah. Because it's just factually incorrect.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I just have a little bit more of a blunt standpoint on it. Where
let me hear it.
It's fucking harsh when I say it, but people that know me knows that it's coming from a good point. I think majority of overweight people that say or think they're beautiful are actually just delusional. And I can say that wholeheartedly, not because when I was 370, there's God for I was not oh bro, my shit, I'm gonna go get pussy. No, that's not happening. But there are some people that I feel if you gave them a magic pill, or you gave them 3 wishes from the genie, or you gave them a magic button, and you were if you press this button, you would not be the weight you are. They would click the fucking button. And so fundamentally, they're at some they're just in denial, and it's a lot of delusion. And I mean, my heart genuinely goes out to them, but it's my mouth and my brain can't switch theirs, right? And that's the biggest thing that I get frustrated with the body positivity movement, because I would say
there are sure some outliers that genuinely love being plus size. And I think there's a difference between being like plus size where you, sure, 40, 50 pounds, even that's not healthy, but you're not dying. Then there's like 400-pound fucking quote unquote models, which I can't even stand saying that that's a thing, but we've come to this as a society where we're accepting that. And like being big is beautiful. No, it's not, because if like you literally had to put that model on a what do you call it? A truth device or a lie detector? There we go. They're going to say they do not want to be that big.
Yeah.
Maybe there's the 1%, like I said, there's the 1% outlier who've literally convinced themselves, right?
I would even say this. The people who have really convinced themselves and do genuinely believe it, massive psychological outlier, but also likely people who are making money off it.
Oh, for sure.
If you're making money off of being a plus size model and then you lose 100 pounds, well, now you're not a plus size model anymore and you don't have a job.
Yeah.
You're like a regular size model, but you're not, well, you don't fit into that category and whatever, you can't make it. And so now what do? You've made your identity on being big. And so that's not right either.
There was a video by Jubilee. I remember I did a reaction to it. It was like bodybuilders versus fat people. And half the fat people on that episode were somewhat delusional. And then there was one guy who was literally a plus size model. And his opinion was very valid, but it also pissed me off because he's a fucking model. Like, dude, he's 40 pounds heavy, but he's a fucking model. And so, like, he doesn't have the perspective. And then the one guy there, I forget the name, but like one of the biggest one on that episode, Greg Doucette was actually on it, and Eric Jankin or whatever. That guy, I think it was Myron or whatever his name was. And no, Myron, he's a dickhead. He was on like the bodybuilding side of it. But one of the biggest guys on like the fat people side of it was a bit delusional. And from the start of the episode to the end of the episode, you can actually see his like mindset and perspective shift a little bit because I love Eric. I butcher his last name, but Eric Janking or something. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
I think so.
Super. I'll pull it up on the screen. But he is a super jacked guy, but he's not like ramming. He's open about his PD use. He's not like ramming like all these drugs down your throat. And he's very like positive. He's like PM, positive mental attitude. This is him. You probably like.
Okay, I think I've seen this guy before.
Yeah. Anyway, super jack guy, super nice, and he was there, and so was Greg, and blah 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 blah. And like then by the end of it, by them talking to this group of like big guys, they got their perspective to change a little bit. Like not to the point where like they're like, oh, I'm gonna go to the gym and whatever. But like the big guy even admitted like he had and hired a trainer, and then he started working on his nutrition and this and that. So I think. Well, I don't know. I just want to touch on the body positivity because it's one thing that really irks me as a society that it's become acceptable. I'm not saying not to love yourself. Like, I love the quote by RuPaul. Like, if you're not going to love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anyone else? But, like...
Part of loving yourself is also wanting to improve your life.
Beautiful. Like, that's very Socrates or, like, Shakespeare. But, yeah, like, if you were locked in a room and you had to come out of that room and you had to tell the truth in order to move, like... Other than the outliers who probably make money over being overweight, right? Everyone's going to be like, yeah, I would love to be less weight, right?
Here's another example to drive that point home, and because I love picking on this group of people. If you ask a real estate agent if it's a good time to buy a house, they will tell you yes.
Yeah.
If you ask the same real estate agent on the same day if it's a good time to sell your house, they will also tell you yes, because it's in their best interest. It's in their professional and financial interest to make you buy or sell a house, do a transaction. If you ask these, people who are making money off body positivity, whatever, large size clothing, and all of the industry that comes with that, of course they're going to tell you that you should love yourself, don't lose weight, don't do this, because it's in their personal self-interest. Also, not even just financial, and I'll maybe expand on this a little bit, but it makes them feel better about themselves.
Yeah, for
if
sure.
And maybe you can attest this a little bit more, right? It's like if you're overweight and you see other people who are overweight, you're like, oh, it's okay because like look at all of us, like we're all the same. The another part of this story is you go to the office, lunch, everyone's eating pizza, and you pull out your meal prep container, chicken and rice and whatever, and you're on your diet and you're doing your thing. People will say things like, why don't you just live a little, like why don't you be like us, and they'll kind of maybe razz you a little bit. But really, I think that is more of a reflection of what they think about themselves.
Yep.
They don't actually care. No one cares about you that much that they don't give a shit that you're eating chicken and rice.
Yep.
They just care that you're doing something that they think that they should be doing, but they're not. So they're going to like internalize it on you and be like, why don't you eat some pizza? Because it makes me, they won't say this, but it makes me feel better about eating the pizza instead of a healthy meal.
Bro, society is so weak that like a diet is considered a diet when you fucking eat healthy. Now, like when you take out the chicken, rice, and broccoli, and granted, it doesn't have to be chicken, rice, broccoli,
just
whatever, some type of clean fucking protein and carb source, instead of eating the pizza, that's a diet.
Yep.
It's crazy. But what you said with everyone around you is heavy, or like, yeah, it's like, this is one of the biggest things that helped me lose weight. And it's kind of extreme, and I'm not saying like everyone needs to do this, but like I cut out a lot of contact with people that did not benefit me. And I'm not saying every relationship has to be transactional, right? But if I'm going to my aunt's house or whatever, I'm going to a family member's house and I'm bringing that chicken, and she's like mad at me because I'm not eating her food, or there's like snarky remarks and be like I'm just not gonna appear.
Of course.
Right? I like there's some takes that I don't agree with Hermosi on, especially recently, but for the most part I agree with a lot of his stuff, and his was like, yeah, it's the same thing. Like he wasn't gonna go home for Christmas or the holidays because like all of his family members were judging him and like asking him and then talking shit about his back. So like what benefit does that give him?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then like with the people judging you, I mean, I can definitely attest to that. Like I wasn't gonna. Granted, I didn't have many friends when I was big. So, but like I wasn't trying to drag people down to my level. Granted, I did have one friend. I tried to make him fat, but we couldn't. Like it's metabolism. I call him Stickman. It was so funny, bro. We did an experiment. Shout out to Noah if you're watching this. We did an experiment when we were much younger. I think we were like 15, 16. We both ate an extra large pizza. The toppings were a little bit different, but like not drastic. Like he got mushrooms. I hate mushrooms, but both ate an extra large pizza. Weighed ourselves before the pizza and weighed ourselves in the morning when we woke up. He slept over at my house, and he was up like 3 pounds. I was up 12.
Wow.
Right? And that's still the same thing with my body now.
And you were already bigger than him.
Yeah. I was still bigger.
So it's even like percentage-wise, it's like...
But obviously, I didn't hold on to the 12 pounds, but like my body still to this day, like if I could hold, like I hold water, I can expand my stomach like crazy. So if I go on like a binge fast, well, I don't really binge, but if I eat a shit ton of food, it takes me like 2 days to clean out system, but then normally I'm down weight. But it just goes to show you like, well, different metabolism. But my point was like, yeah, I'm not trying to bring people down to my level, but people do definitely judge you. And like you said, they kind of put their own insecurities on you in some way, shape, or form. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, but some do. And then it's like, I don't know, like maybe cut them out of your life, but you can't really cut out the Karens that are at your office.
Yeah, if there's people that are really like a big drag in your life, you know, you try and cut them out or limit your interaction, or you just like the people at work. It's like you have to just realize these people don't actually care. Like they don't, and you can just ignore them, and they can just go fuck themselves, and you're gonna do whatever you got to do to like to make yourself healthy. Like, are you gonna be unhealthy because like someone at work who you don't even like or care about is like trying to tell you like, oh, you shouldn't eat that chicken and rice, you know, like you're on a diet. That's like, you know, diets don't work. 97% of diets fail, or whatever the stat is. Like, it's stupid. You need to have a support system around you that's actually going to uplift you, and like you're the sum of like you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. So if like all you're surrounded by is fat people and people that are negative, or people that are judging you because you're doing something better with your life and they're kind of envious of that because they're not going to, yeah, fucking cut them out. And I mean, for some examples or situations, it's kind of difficult. Like I've had clients where like their mom was like being like, yo, what the fuck? Like, why are you losing weight? It's very hard.
But the mom herself was overweight, right? But I'm not saying you can't have a relationship with your mom, but like maybe, you know, separate some distance a bit. Like, it's not really going to ultimately help you. I mean, some people, they can't, like they're living together. But if the situation allows for it and it's not giving you any type of positive outcome, then yeah, there's no point.
Yeah.
Right?
Here's another way to frame this for people listening. We call a healthy lifestyle, a healthy diet, healthy food, healthy whatever. And we label that as a healthy lifestyle. But what's the alternative? There's healthy lifestyle and there's like regular lifestyle. Yeah. And a regular lifestyle is unhealthy. And we need to have this cultural shift where the default is a healthy lifestyle. It's not weird to go to the gym. It's not weird to eat salad. It's not weird to drink water instead of wine or whatever. Like, these are normal human behaviors. And we need to make that the normal. And then everything else can be labeled as unhealthy. Oh, you're eating an unhealthy diet today. Oh, you're being unhealthy by not exercising for 3 weeks. You're being unhealthy by scrolling on TikTok till 3 a.m. and then being exhausted the next day. That is the thing that I think we need to label. Now, is this a cultural shift that's going to happen? Probably not. Do I have a big enough voice for this to transmute through the world? Probably not. But I would love to see that. But either way, whether it happens in society or not, like, you as an individual need to embody this. Like, you need to just become that healthy person. And it's not that you're doing a diet. You're not doing this workout program for 12 weeks. This is just who you are now. You're a person who works out. You're a person who eats healthy. You're a person who goes to bed early. You're a person who drinks water. You're a person who calls their friends and talks to them and has good relationships in their life. You're a person who does healthy things rather than doing a 3-week challenge. Let's see what happens. Like, those are great to get you started, but it has to become who you are as an individual.
Bars. Absolute bars. Okay, so real quick, let's wrap this up. I'm going to ask you top 3 fitness myths or advice.
Oh my God. That is not fast.
On the spot.
Let's see. Top 3 fitness myths. 1, intermittent fasting makes you lose weight faster or better than some other way. 2, this is not something that I experience a lot with my audience, but I know it's a thing that's still out there, is women who lift weights get bulky. Most dudes are trying their hardest to get bulky, and they can't. So I promise you it's not going to happen by accident. Number 3 myth is, here's a good myth, that you're eating pretty healthy. If you're eating pretty healthy, you are most likely pretty full of shit. And that's just the way it is. Because if you're eating pretty healthy, but you're still overweight, nothing's changing, whatever, well, either your body is broken or you're lying to yourself. And the more likely of the two is that you're lying to yourself. Maybe not on purpose, but it is what it is, right? To everyone who thinks that they're some outlier of human physiology, you're not. You're not. I promise you, the 99.9999% of you are not.
I'm laughing because I've had this exact conversation with, I don't even know how many people. I'm going to clip this and just send it to people before we get on the call. Like, that's word for word. Like, that's literally what I've told people. It's actually called. You're not that different. Like, sure, you might be big boned, all right, but like your femur is the same size as mine.
Yeah.
I mean, I might have more muscle on it, but like,
sure. Again, no one is that big boned. No one's metabolism is that slow. No one is like all of these
fucking
things.
Neil, that is the only human on earth that can say, hey man, I'm big boned. Like,
yeah.
But bro, you're 7'2" and you eat 9,000 calories a day at maintenance.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
All right. And what are your top 3, I guess, overall generic like fitness advices?
Get real clear on the things that you're actually doing, right? So we talk about eating pretty well versus eating actually healthy. Like, get really clear. What are you eating? What are you doing in your workouts? Number 2 is you need to find something that is going to keep you consistent. Consistency beats all of the other things. You don't need a better workout split. You don't need better exercises. You don't need optimal anything. You need to get in the gym 3 times a week for 10 years. That's what you need to do. So you find the thing that makes you keep going, even if it's 30 minutes, you do that. Number 3 is walking. I know it sounds so simple, but it is a legit cheat code hack to maintaining weight, losing weight. And it doesn't have to be 10,000 steps. That's a great number. But if you're currently getting 3,000 steps, going from 3 to 10 is a big jump.
Yeah.
Start with maybe 5.
Yeah.
And then increase that. So wherever you're at, a general rule of thumb, wherever you're at, increase that by 2,000.
Yep.
Right? Walk more, be outside in the fresh air. It's going to help you with your digestion. It's going to help you regulate your appetite. It's a positive action that makes you want to continue to take more positive actions. Remember that positive cascade of events. And really good extra calorie burn. You can't outwork a really shitty diet, but you can outwork a diet that's like not that bad. You burn an extra 100 to 200 calories from walking a little bit more in the day. You get to eat 100 to 200 more calories in the day, which just doesn't sound like a lot, but it might be enough just to maintain your weight. So those are my big 3.
That's valid. One of the biggest reasons I lost weight was because I just walked more. And one of the biggest reasons I'm able to maintain my weight loss is because I walk more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even surprised at that a little bit.
Like, I don't love cardio. Clients ask me all the time, they're like, how much cardio do I have to do? I'm like, none. I'm like, can you just go for a fucking walk? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, can you like open the door and like put one foot in front of the other for like 20 minutes and turn around? They're like, yeah. I'm like, great. That's it. Right? For cardio, obviously, if there's certain nuances, like it depends how much they want to cut, but like fundamentally, whatever your most enjoyable thing is, and most people hate cardio, so walking is like kind of trivial.
Yeah, so I'll leave you with this. This is a cliffhanger. Well, maybe people can chew on this one.
Yeah.
Cardio is great at burning calories. Cardio is for training your heart.
Yeah.
I think cardio should be part of your training program, but it's part of your training. It has a side effect of burning calories, the same way that strength training does. But trying to out cardio your calories, you're just gonna be miserable. You literally are a hamster on a wheel, right? Do your cardio to train your heart and be healthy. Has a side effect of burning calories, that's great. But walking is going to be the bigger lever to pull.
Yeah, and it's lower intensity. You're not gonna it's not gonna damage or kill your CNS. You're not gonna be super fatigued from it.
Yeah.
If you're doing a proper hard training cardio session, you're gonna be dead.
Yeah.
Well, not dead, but
you can't be sprinting 7 days a week,
No,
but you can
ridiculous.
walk 7 days a week.
So what I like to do to end every episode, do you know the show Hot Ones from the Eight Chicken Wings?
I've never watched it, but I know
Okay.
it. Yeah.
At the end of each episode, granted, every celebrity that's on the show is there to literally promote a movie or whatever. Okay. So, but the host Sean Evans, to end every episode, okay, he's like, we have this camera, this camera, this camera. Let the people know what we got going on. So then they plug their stuff. So I mean, now would be the time to be hi, plug. We follow my Instagram.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, follow my Instagram. Everything is just my name. Yeah. So really easy. Daniel Yoris, Yores. That's how you spell my last name. Yeah. On Instagram, on Twitter or X. My podcast, the Daniel Yoris Podcast, super, intelligently and creatively named there. The reason for that was just because it's going to be about fitness, but I want to give myself the freedom to talk about it. So I didn't want to make it the fitness podcast. And then it's how much time am I going to spend? Good fitness analogy here. And I promise I'm going to be fast. How much time am I going to spend thinking of a creative name versus just name it and get the thing going?
That's actually
right. It's I'm going to either research for 6 months what's the best workout split, or I'll just get in the gym and start doing stuff. So just, spend time on important things. Things that are less important, they can be fast. So yeah, Daniel Yoris Podcast, YouTube, whatever, all that stuff. Online coaching. I do some in-person coaching, but not a ton unless you live real close to me in Vaughan.
You're in Vaughan? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
But, so, I mean, I would definitely say high likelihood I'll go on your podcast soon if you would like.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, for anybody still watching this, thanks. I mean, you have an attention span longer than a squirrel, so I appreciate that. If you're on YouTube, do the subscribe and the like and the comment. We'll respond to the comments eventually. I would like to do a Q&A episode. And then if you're on Spotify and you've listened to 2 or 3 episodes before, if you can, leave a review because it helps. And other than that, so you want to say bye?
I want to say bye, but I also want to say definitely leave a rating and review on these things because people don't understand how much work it is to do these podcasts and to set up all the studio and all this stuff. So if you're watching this, you enjoy this content, leave a rating, leave a review, leave a thumbs up, whatever, subscribe, because it helps an absolute ton.
And it's free.
And it's free and takes literally 3 seconds of your time. These are a ton of work. So thank you for having me, Adam. Awesome. And yeah, people, show them some love.
All right. I appreciate that. That's a great way to end it. And see you in the next one.